Hello, welcome to another edition of It's Just Me, hosted by Brent Fox. Today's edition of It's Just Me is going to discuss the Cleveland Browns versus Pittsburgh Steelers matchup that's going to be on Sunday, of course. Michael Irvin's reaction to podcasters trolling him, and then any other topics that just kind of come to mind. I am going to give a heads up. This is probably going to be a quicker show. I know that unfortunately sometimes I get a little long-winded, excuse me, and the shows last up to probably like 45 minutes or an hour. I'm gonna do my best to try to compress the show's length. That way, it's more digestible. So, getting right to it, let's discuss the matchup between my Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. So, Sunday, I believe it's going to be like a 12 noon game here, Central Standard Time. The Cleveland Browns will be visiting the Pittsburgh Steelers at Acrisure Stadium. Now, a lot has been made of course, Myles Garrett coming into town and possibly being a disruptive force. However, in most of our home games against Myles Garrett, he's been solid. He has not been the disruptive game flipping force at our home games. Visiting Cleveland is different, but having him at the friendly confines for us of Acrisure Stadium, we fare pretty well with him. So it's not really so much him that I'm worried about. It is the other guys on the defensive line that I'm actually worried about. The guy on the other end, and his name is escaping me right now, has probably just as many sacks as TJ Watt does. And then, of course, they drafted a defensive tackle from Michigan that has been a disruptive force. He's kind of like our version of Derek Harmon, if you will. So I would actually look for those two matchups to be more impactful with this game that's actually coming up. Now, setting realistic expectations, I do not expect much from our running game. I know I know Coach Smith is going to run that godforsaken toss at least 5 to 10 times. And I think that it is going to largely be ineffective. The reason that I'm saying that is because when you run a toss, it's a development play. It's not a slow developing play like a counter would be, but it is a developing play. And with the penetration that the defensive linemen get up front, along with the linebackers whom they're covering, the tosses and even to an extent, maybe some stretch plays may not be as effective as they were 2 weeks ago against the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm looking for more or less inside lead runs. Yes, maybe some stretch plays with a lead blocker. Power plays would probably be effective. I don't know about trap plays. Trap plays are basically where you let one of the interior defensive linemen in, and then you have a guard pull from the other direction to quote unquote trap him, and then it sets up a beautiful block if executed properly. But I wouldn't expect that to be effective. Neither that nor the toss, to be honest with you. I just think that we have to have plays that get right to the point, or plays that require multiple blockers to lead the running back through holes so he'll have some options. I do not think that base blocking is actually going to work. Zone blocking certainly is going to be an issue with this group of defensive linemen and linebackers. So, again, I think we need to, or we should have, and I don't want to be I'm a fan. I'm speaking as a fan. I'm not speaking as someone that knows better than the coaches or anything else like that. They do this for a living, and they are literally the best in the world at what they do. That is why they're in the NFL. But it's just from my perspective, and I've been involved with football for at least 30 years. It's my perspective that if you are facing a group of defensive linemen that are physical and can get upfield very quickly, you have to have something set up to counter that. And if you expect to be successful running the ball at all, you need to attack what they're best at. So if they're best at shedding blocks and getting upfield, then you have to have something set up to where you have multiple lead blockers to try to escort these running backs through the hole. I think that's imperative. So hopefully Arthur Smith has actually practiced a lot of power throughout the week to try to help with that situation, or has set up like wham blocks for the tight ends, and then has also featured like the 2 to 3 tight end sets, or possibly even, multiple running back sets, which would at least have 2 running backs in the backfield, like a fullback, and then also, of course, your tailback that's actually going to, or running back that's actually going to do most of the hard work with carrying the ball and trying to advance it. So, again, I wouldn't look for much in the running game this week because Cleveland is very good at stopping it, but I would look for the short passing game to be effective. And then later on, as the defensive personnel tries to move up to sit on the short passing game, I think our mid and then long range passing opportunities should open up. But once again, yes, Myles Garrett is going to present issues, but I am more worried about the other 3 guys that are actually on the line than him this week. Because make no mistake, as much as I do not like Cleveland and as much as I do not like Myles Garrett, I can still say confidently they are a good group up front. So as long as we're able to somewhat keep that under control, we should be able to win this game. I think that it will be a very tight game because it's a divisional game, and their defense is still good despite offensive inconsistencies, especially at quarterback. Speaking of such, the Cleveland offense does have a couple of bright spots. Yes, Dillon Gabriel had a good performance last week against Minnesota, but so did Quinshon Judkins, who I'm primarily worried about. All right. Yes, we did better 2 weeks ago when we actually played the Vikings, and you know we actually were able to hold their primary running back to, I think it was just under 4 yards a carry. Now with Quinshon Judkins, I am not so sure that's going to be the case. I think that unfortunately he's probably going to get some chunk plays, but I think as long as we're able to keep that situation manageable, meaning that he doesn't consistently break runs of 10 yards or longer, then I think we should be okay. If we're able to keep him down maybe to a long of 15 and that's going to be it, then we have a good chance of winning this game. But if he gets chunk runs, like if he consistently gets like 8-yard chunk runs, 6-yard chunk runs, 12-yard chunk runs, 15-yard chunk runs, and then he hits us over the head for maybe a 20-yarder or something like that, it is going to be a long day at the office. They do not want Dillon Gabriel to have to carry the team. And that is exactly what we need to do as a defensive unit in order to be successful and win this game. So if we have any hope at all to actually make this a dominant game, then we are going to have to emphatically stop the run. We have to do it early and we have to do it often. Just because Quinshon may have gotten hit 2 times behind the line of scrimmage, gained 3 yards, and it doesn't look good the first drive does not mean that they're going to quit running the ball. So, again, we just have to show consistency stopping the run. Dylan Gabriel is a type of passer that likes to get the ball out of his hands very quickly. So, if we're able to disrupt rhythm and timing, then we should be okay. Cam Hayward has actually been excellent as far as getting his hands up. We haven't seen much from the likes of YA Black. So, when YA actually gets subbed in, I would actually look for him to actually bat down a pass. I think that he'll probably bat down a pass if he gets significant action on Sunday. So you should look for that as well. As far as our linebackers, Patrick Queen, and then I think Cole Holcomb is actually going to be featured a little bit more this game. And yes, Peyton Wilson had an excellent game against the Vikings. But this particular brand of football, the Cleveland Browns are going to try to establish the run. So I think Cole Holcomb would probably be best suited to try to put a lid on that. Not saying that Peyton Wilson is that bad of a player, but I think somebody that is actually a little bit more familiar and has a physical he he has like physical gifts and tools to effectively stop the run a little bit better. And then he also, and what I mean by that is Cole Holcomb has like a lower base. Yeah, he has a lower base. He has a lower base, meaning that he's shorter, and then he's stockier, and then he's able to shed blocks a little bit better, just a little bit better than Peyton Wilson, and he's able to stop the run a little bit more effectively as a result. So I would look for Cole Holcomb to be a big factor or a big part of the rotation in this game. I think that Patrick Queen should still have a very good game because, of course, Cleveland is going to run the ball and then they're going to try to do short passing to get the ball out of Gabriel's hands. So I would definitely look for the defense to actually adjust to something like that. I think that press coverage is going to be important. We cannot play off the ball. We can't play off the ball as much as we are accustomed to. I don't think, besides Jerry Jeudy, that Cleveland has a legitimate breakaway threat at receiver that's going to draw double coverage or have us try to bracket over to make sure that they don't beat us deep. Beating us deep requires Dylan Gabriel to actually hold the ball, and I do not think he wasn't even comfortable with that at Oregon, to be honest. So I don't think that he's actually, hell, he wasn't comfortable with that at Oklahoma because he played for Oklahoma. And I don't think he was very comfortable with that when he was playing for Oklahoma. And unfortunately, I think Caleb Williams replaced him. Um, but yeah, he's not really comfortable holding the ball. He likes to be decisive and get that ball out. If you're making him sit and wait and think about it, you have a better chance of being successful on defense. So press coverage is going to have to be a must. Also, um, I think that if TJ Watt does what history indicates, I think that he would probably be an impact player this particular game as well. I would look for Derek Harmon to actually make some noise. Cam Hayward is definitely going to do his thing up front, but I would look for those guys to actually be impactful as well. Now, as far as the secondary goes, we get Jerry Porter Jr. back, which is great news because Jalen Ramsey's not going to be playing. He may be out for quite a few weeks because of the hamstring issue that he actually had in London. So, not in London, Ireland. I'm so sorry, Ireland. So, I think probably about maybe 2 or 3 more weeks with him being gone, we're gonna have to we'll have to thug it through. So that means that he's gonna be out this game. He's definitely gonna be out that Thursday night game against Cincinnati. We have to be very, very careful with that one as well. And then whichever game is actually after that, he may be out for that one as well. Even though we'll have 10 days for him to heal, we'll have to see how that goes, to be honest. But hopefully he'll be back by that game after Cincinnati in a best case scenario. But in a normal case, I would think that the game after Cincinnati he would be out, and then beyond that he should be able to come back. But in other football news, quickly transitioning here, the great Hall of Fame wide receiver Michael Irvin unfortunately had had a spat with some podcasters who, to be honest with you, aren't worth mentioning. These are guys that probably these are guys that probably did play Division I football, but I think that was it. One of them does look like former defensive back Philip Buchanan. I do not, once again, I do not know or cannot confirm whether or not that is Philip Buchanan. So my apologies, Mr. Buchanan, if that is not you. Okay, the guy just kind of looks like you, and whatever. But for those that don't know, Michael Irvin has had a viral moment. Um, just basically letting these guys know, you know, that in his era, things were a lot harder to come by, pause, and that, with the rules today, he would probably be having 200 to 300 catch seasons, which is true. Now, Michael Irvin has been a great ambassador of the game, and he's also been a great citizen of Dallas, Texas. We love Michael Irvin down here. I clearly hate the Cowboys. Can't stand them. All right. But the impact that the unofficial mayor of Dallas, Michael Irvin, has actually made to this particular community here, I mean, it's hands down one of the most impactful from any type of sports figure here in Dallas. So, we love Michael Irvin. We're going to make sure that we actually support him. Now, I can't support that football team, but I can definitely get behind Michael Irvin. And shouts out to Mike for actually standing up to people that just sometimes talk about things that they have no idea about. So, sometimes folks talk about stuff they don't really know about. Case in point, I think that yes, back in the 90s, it was a lot more physical. First and foremost, the passing game in the 90s wasn't what it is now. So, yes, to Michael's point, I think that yeah, he could definitely probably have like multi 100 catch seasons, and he's even had like 100 catch seasons in the 90s where primarily people ran the ball. Like they didn't really pass as much. They passed when they had to. They passed on first down to try to get the defense back, or they passed on second and third and long, things of that nature when they had to. So everybody knew that the ball was going to go in the air, and like he said, there's death coming right in the middle of the football field when you're actually running slant patterns, in routes, and excuse me, even curl in routes where you're running straight up and then you just turn around toward the inside. Like those routes are extremely dangerous too. So, yes, to his point, people were coming to hit you and actually just knocking you out, like knocking you unconscious. People took pride in that back then. Now it's a totally different game. It's a lot less physical. So, to his point, yes, if I think if with his ability to run routes and his toughness and his work ethic, which is most important, he'd be a highly successful receiver. As a matter of fact, I think his numbers probably would have almost doubled um, if he played in this era today. So, and then God knows what numbers Jerry Rice would have had if he played in today's era. So, yeah, and to this point, Deion Sanders, as much as as much as I didn't like him when I was a kid, Deion Sanders can play in any era. Sorry guys, Deion ran like a 4.2, and it was a sub 4.2. I think it was like a 4.21, something like that. Like he was freakishly fast. He could actually backpedal. I'm talking about backpedaling like a 4.9. Like that's unheard of. Like That's just unheard of. And then he was a multi-sport athlete. Like he was professional in two sports in the 90s. And that was a very physically demanding time. So, I don't know why. That I do know why, because unfortunately, some of these people have to resort to tactics of saying crazy things that they themselves don't even really believe, and just for the sake of actually going viral. That is not what we do here at It's Just Me, hosted by Brent Fox. I have something called integrity. I'm not going to I'm not going to speak down on any athlete that doesn't necessarily deserve it, to be honest with you. As a matter of fact, a lot of people have a lot of negative things to say about athletes like Tank Davis, which I'm not going there here. Okay, just kind of getting back to it. Yes, so athletes like Tank Davis, I'm not even going to waste my time with that. Unfortunately, he is choosing financial he's choosing financial gain and notoriety rather than actual legacy that people will remember and cherish and be able to tell their generations of offspring, things of that nature. He will not be included in the conversation of boxing greatness, so I can't really worry about it. And we have quite frankly been on leave Tank alone um, this leave Tank alone type stance. So I'm gonna take that stance. We'll just leave him alone. He's welcome to do whatever he wants to do, but I'm not going to shut up and be a fan and sit back and support and all of that crap. Nah, I don't have to support that, so I won't. And that is going to be the last time I talk about something like that. I am a real boxing fan. As a matter of fact, I need to just go ahead, buckle down, and then we'll discuss a gentleman that I've needed to discuss for a very long time by the name of Darrell Valsant. Darrell Valsant is a 154-pound boxer who has who shows some amazing skill and talent. I would rather talk about that and then how he can actually impact the junior middleweight division, and along with his partner Najee Lopez, who just had a fight, I think a few weeks ago, and has put on a very, very, very good performance. So again, I'm not really, I want to be able to report on things like that. So look for some content concerning Darrell Valsant, and I look forward to speaking about him and then the possibilities that he has in his division. So we'll we'll discuss that later on. So wrapping up the show here, and I know that there are several other topics that I could be discussing, but again, I need to compress this format. So wrapping up the show, please check out my brothers Jared 011 Green and Coach 67 Sports TV. They have a great show, or a great variety of shows. Today they had HBCU Fanatics. I'm going to make sure that I actually post that on my channel and recommend it. So please check that content out. Of course, they have the Southern Baller Show, which sometimes I can be a part of. That comes on Sundays, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube. And then Coach 67 Sports TV, who is the best Southern content creator on the face of the planet, has a plethora of shows that he does every day, every week. So please check that out. And I'll make sure that I actually post those. My brother Junior the Truth, my big brother Junior the Truth, has inspirational and motivational content that, if you're serious about self-improvement and building a better you, please check his content out. It is the Black Coffee Club. He usually has that show running 7:30 a.m. or 7 a.m. rather. I'm sorry, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday, or it could be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. One of the two. I would just check it out every day. To be honest with you, he has some great content. Again, if you're serious about actually building a better you, please check that out. And then, of course, we have our founder, 78 Sports TV. He has shows that usually come on 10 a.m. on YouTube weekdays, which is Monday through Friday. And of course, I have several other brothers like my brother Drew Titan and my brother I Am True Will. I Am True Will happens to be one of the best political content creators on the internet. Please check his show out. It comes on randomly throughout the week. So just hit the subscribe button and hit the notification button for more details on that. And again, my brother Drew Titan LLC usually has shows coming on probably around 9 or 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time weekdays on YouTube. All right, y'all. This has been another edition of It's Just Me, hosted by Brent Fox. I holla.